And we're live. Yay.
Hi, y'all.
Alright, so today is Tessa's third birthday. Our corn snake, we can't take her out because she eats today and we can't disturb her.
She gets a birthday meal.
She gets a birthday meal. So we are going to celebrate on her behalf. And we are going to celebrate by playing some of our favorite card games. We've got We're Not Really Strangers here and Cards Against Humanity here. And for those of you who aren't familiar with either of the games, Cards Against Humanity, if you've ever played Apples to Apples, it's similar to that, where one person is the judge, they give a prompt, and everyone tries to answer the prompts as best as possible with the cards they have available to them. And hilarity often ensues. Cards Against Humanity specifically is, according to the box, 17 plus. So, yeah, it's
It's a game for horrible people.
Yeah. I feel like I hate this word because it feels gross in my mouth, but I feel like the best word I have to describe it is raunchy. I hate that word so much. And then We're Not Really Strangers is I'm just gonna read the back of it. It says, "Do you really know your best friend? How well do you know your mother, sister, or anyone else close to you? We're Not Really Strangers is a purpose-driven card game, 3 carefully crafted levels that allow you to create meaningful connections with friends, family, a significant other, and even a complete stranger." Ready? And
I got cuts on my fingers.
no. So the basic prompt is, I like the way that We're Not Really Strangers phrases their rules, which is basically you ask each other questions. There are 2 ways to play this game: to play it safe or to grow, and the second is how you win.
And this is a game we play fairly often, and it always opens up some really good conversations. It's actually one that I really like playing.
Yeah, do you want to start with it? I don't know.
You got Discord on.
I do.
Which
one do you want to start with?
We can do We're Not Really Strangers first, and then when more people come in, we can switch over to cards.
Okay, sounds good.
So that we have a good Card Czar.
Okay.
Or you.
So let's start with level 1.
Yes.
As you're supposed to. So level 1 is basic questions. I don't want to say surface level questions because they're still pretty thought provoking, but you don't have to do necessarily a whole bunch of soul searching in order to find answers. Second, part 2 is largely meant to dig deeper. And then the third section, which we don't really play all that much, is you're parting ways. One of the questions was what's the most memorable answer that your partner gave? And it's it's specifically for.
Also, is this the third?
Yeah.
It's kind of like rankings as well. Is this? Yeah. Oh, it's 3 reflection.
3 is reflection.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Okay. Level 1 is perception. Level 2 is connection. And then level 3 is.
Always. Sorry.
I know. We'll figure it out. But anyway. Okay. I've already drawn a level 1 question, so we're going to go for it.
Okay.
I feel like you already know the answer to this question, but at the same time, maybe you don't. Do I seem like a cat or a dog person?
See. Not really either, but given the 2 choices, I'm actually leaning more towards cat person.
Okay.
Despite my.
I love Maya.
She's so
So I would probably say cat person as well, just because cats are more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And you get if you give a cat food and water and entertainment, you can just bounce for a little bit and come back and it'll be okay. Whereas a dog, that's not gonna happen. But in general, I really just like pets that are loving and snuggly.
Looking at you, Buns.
Looking at you, Buns. The Buns are not very cuddly or snuggly. They occasionally will lick you.
No, They've actually, it's on and off, but Miss Bun has started. If I walk over and just like put my hand in the pin, she'll hop over, and I might get a few pets in, and then she'll hop away.
I've had that for
It's
both of them.
That's so cute, right?
Mr. Bun's done that too.
They're temperamental. They
They're
don't know.
great.
They're like, you give us food, you're okay, and he's like, I don't want to know you.
The funny thing is that there was one time when Mr. Bun was the one who responded to me putting my hand in the cage, and I went to pet him, and then he growled at me,
Yeah.
and then ran away, and I'm like, excuse
Okay.
you.
So, attached to that, okay. So, Mr. Bun, you might know this already, but Mr. Bun was came to us as a rescue. He had been abused in one of the previous homes he was in, so he tends to growl a lot. It's not like anger; it's mostly just warning. Like he's bit me once, and it wasn't out of anger. It's because he wanted to move my ankle, despite the fact that he could easily move around it. He's like, "No, I want this path. You're gonna move."
The fact that you've only been bitten by Mr. Bun once is outrageous.
But I think sometime in the past 2 weeks, he was in one of his grumpier moods, and so I was putting food in, and I kind of, instead of taking the bowl out, I just grab handfuls and I put it in. And so he knows we're talking about him. So I was doing that, and I put in the first handful. He came over and he gurred at me and started eating. So I put in another handful. He gurred at me and kept eating. He was throwing a little tantrum. He was like, "I love you for feeding me, but stop." He was a silly
So,
baby.
are you more of a dog person or a cat person?
What do you think I am?
I honestly...
Right?
I'd probably say dog person. Just because, like, you love cats, but the emotional connection you have with your dogs is next level.
Well, that's also, I had that same connection with okay.
Dixie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss her. So I had a cat. Oh god. For, I think we got her when I was 7-ish. And then she actually passed last year.
That's
Yeah. So she was 20 years
20,
old.
yeah.
Yeah, she was my baby. I loved her to death. She was my baby. But I moved out when I was 18, and I didn't live with anyone with cats, and so yeah, I've mostly lived with dogs, and I love them dearly. They have been much more playful and interactive, and I love cats because they can just come up and chill with you.
Mm-hmm.
But dogs you very much have to play with, and I do love the energy. So.
You're good.
This side.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got a wild card.
Uh-oh.
Ask and answer the next question in a different accent. Both of us.
Alright.
I don't know accents.
And why?
Oh no.
What do my shoes tell you about me?
I'm going to think that you don't like wearing shoes. You only wear sandals. And only one certain type of sandal.
I wear multiple types of sandals. I wear flip-flops. I wear slides.
What does my accent do? What have you ever worn flip-flops? I really thought they...
They've got a little toe thing. They've got a little toe thing between the toes.
I really thought they were slides.
Alright. As for you, I'd honestly say that your taste in shoes, for whatever reason, the words pastel dots come to mind. They're all black. A number of them are lacy. Like, it seems like you really want to have a certain aesthetic. Regardless of whether or not the rest of your outfit matches, you at least want to express that aspect of your personality with your shoes.
I do try. I done did it again.
Alright. What you done did?
What I done did now?
What you done did? What you done did?
I don't actually know.
I request a redraw.
Okay. Let's see.
The question is, how many speeding tickets do you think I've gotten in my life?
One.
None.
Yeah. I didn't think so. I was like, if there's any, it's gonna be fun. How, guess me.
17.
You're right.
I know.
Y'all, I can't drive. I'm working on it.
It's a process. Hey, 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months. 2 months we can start training.
You gotta make it. No, I'm sorry. Well.
I like this question a lot better.
Is it? Oh yeah, redraw. Okay.
It's a two-parter.
Oh.
How likely am I to go camping? And how high maintenance is my setup?
Well, see, I'd say like. Okay, so on a normal everyday, like if you're invited to go camping, I don't see you going. At least not like in a tent. Or no, I don't see you camping. Because like there'd have to be Wi-Fi, there'd have to be a bed. Like you'd have to have a little setup. It wouldn't be a tent. It'd have to be a cabin. I'm just saying, and like if you were to do that, like that setup, I think it would more be for like a getaway or like to get footage somewhere.
That makes sense.
Rather than just going for the fun of it.
So, minor rebuttal.
Okay.
I've been camping several times.
Yes, but it's how would you now?
I'm actually curious to see if I would like camping because my only experience with camping was with the Boy Scouts. And it was like, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a trans woman, and being surrounded by the men folk was not my idea of a good time. And so I wonder how I would feel about camping in like a co-ed environment where like anyone could go.
Would you go camping just like we'd have to leave the pets here, but just you, me, and like we'd borrow someone's dog?
So
oh no, we couldn't.
No, we couldn't.
She would escape. We would never see her.
She would come back. She'd come back to the campsite. She's very smart, but catching her would be a bitch. I mean, a difficult time.
You're good.
It would have to be a group thing. Because
Yeah.
I don't know enough about camping to be confident with just the two of us going. Now, if you were like, I know how to set a tent, I know how to build a fire, I know how to read read smoke signs, read the stars, I don't know. Like, then I'd be like, okay, I trust you, let's go.
Like, setting up the tent isn't that hard. Starting a fire, we got matches.
True.
Just need, like, the firewood and, like, a starter for it.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably use gas. I don't know if they that anyway. But, like, they typically have a station for your fires. And then, we have cell phones. And, like, theoretically, if there's connection, receive it. But also, most campsites, it's not like you're actually out in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
At least the ones that I've been to.
That makes sense.
It's pretty easy to know where everything is.
Also, did I tell you the story of the last time we went camping?
Oh, no, you did not.
We were camping for a week. Late June. So it was hot.
Cool.
I sliced my finger open. like left a trail of blood throughout the camp, bleeding profusely, like it was bad. Like not just like a little trickle, like splatters of blood just everywhere. Like I was losing blood pretty quickly with the camp. And so we walked all the way to the parking lot, which is on the other side of the camp, with our camp director's keys, well, like our scout group director's keys, because we didn't have anything. So we're like, well, we'll borrow your car. So we walked all the way to the other side of the camp. I'm still bleeding out. Actually, I may have been wrapped up by that point in time, but I'm still bleeding. And so we get to the car, and it turns out that he had left his car light on, so his battery was dead. So we had to walk all the way back across the camp to our campsite to be like, what are we going to do? And it just so happened that we got lucky that my dad has his CDL. Oh. So he hopped in the church bus, just the two of us, to take me to a local hospital to determine whether or not it needed stitches. Guy was like, yeah, that's a pretty deep cut. It's going to need stitches, probably like 4 stitches. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so in my head, I'm like, what's this going to feel like? How bad is this going to hurt? I'm real scared. And so I've heard that I knew that they numbed you, but I didn't think that, I was under the impression that they had to inject you with the numbing stuff to make it work. And because the cut was open enough, they just squirted the stuff in there, and it was numb, and I didn't feel anything. So the guy is talking about everything under the sun, like literally everything under the sun. But he gets on the fact that he knows Steph Curry, because Steph Curry is from North Carolina, basketball player.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Real good basketball player, like next tier level. God, yeah, he's really good. Anyway, so he's talking about how he knew Steph Curry and how he actually went golfing with Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. And so he's 2.5 stitches in, and he stops just to talk about Steph Curry. And I'm like, this is really cool. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, can we also do my finger? But I'm only like 13, 14 at the time. I'm not thinking about criticizing a doctor and the job he's doing. So he, after a while for talking, like he's talking probably about at least an hour. Like he's just
that he's not
stitching me. And then so he goes to do another stitch. The numbing medication has worn off completely.
Do doctors get paid by the hour?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But so it rips through, and I scream. I'm like, oh my goodness. He goes, oh, the numbing medication wore off. And I'm like, okay, so now is the time for you to go get more numbing medication. So then he continues talking for another 10 minutes and does one half of the stitch. Talks for about 15 more minutes and then does the last one, like talking to distract. He doesn't announce it. He's always just like talking to distract me from the pain that's coming.
Why? Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I don't know things, but it seems like the solution would just be to
get more numbing medication.
Yeah.
You'd think so. My only guess is because of the way that like hospitals work.
Like rations, maybe?
It's possible that he didn't want to charge us extra to use more numbing medication that he allowed to go out. So he would rather cause me pain than charge us extra. Ooh. So yeah, we got back to camp probably like 3 or 4 in the morning, and Reveille was at 7.
So why did you go back to camp when you just... I don't know how these things work. I'm not gonna... I don't know.
And so...
I feel like that's a good place to get it infected.
So, we were right back out of camp, sleeping on the ground. And, actually, I think they were elevated. We might have had cots. Anyway, we were still roughing them. Mm-hmm. And so, our first, lesson, we had to get, a lot of badges while we were there. And we were trying to get my golf badge. But you can't golf if your thing is messed up. So I literally I sat on top of a rock and tried to watch them. Next thing I know, I had fallen asleep on top of the rock.
I do remember being told that story.
And just trying to like zombie my way through everything else because that was also when I got heat stroke.
Things come like
Literally, we were standing in front of the American flag, and I just thought I was gonna die. Like, I was dizzy, I felt sick, I couldn't see straight, and they were like, "Let's go inside and cool you down, right?" Hey, team.
hi.
And so, yeah, I was inside in the cold, and they brought me like a sherbet thing, and eating something cold finally cooled me down. I finally felt like I was sane again. It was really bad though.
So I know your school was considerably smaller than mine, but did you guys ever have field days?
Yes.
Okay, so our field day would be like a full day thing. Like I think we went inside for lunch. Like we went in the morning just to count everyone. We'd go outside. I'm pretty sure we came inside for lunch. And then we came inside to get our stuff and leave for the end of the day. But it was hot. And little baby me had to go inside because I was dying. I was like, and then I tripped on my way in there. I still have the scar.
Oh,
it's the same knee.
Oh wow.
This knee just takes a beating. I had like blood trickling to my socks. I was like, I'm not gonna wear these anymore. It was an elementary school.
Yeah. No, we had field day. We had field day every year, and we'd have a lot of so many volunteers would come out and help make the thing. And in hindsight, like, I don't think there were any like traumatic memories from field day.
Field day was like the best day.
Field day was such a good day. For context, we have a lot of traumatic memories from our time at that institution, but field day wasn't one of them. They're actually pretty cool.
I don't know if this is true. Oh, hold on. Wait for it. Tinnitus. Can't hear. Okay. Now I don't know what I was going to say. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so asking you the question. I actually answering it for you. That's what. How likely are you to go camping, and how high maintenance is your setup? I'd say, honestly, I could be way off. But I get the vibe that as long as you have, like, cell phone service, and a place to charge your phone, you're good.
Oh, I would take so many pictures.
Like, you're good. Like,
it would be all over everywhere.
Like, I definitely get the vibe that you would be pretty chill about it.
I do like camping. Camping is actually, like, we used to have family reunions up in Pennsylvania. And, is that right? I think that's right. But we would all stay in a campground. And, and it was always the same campground every time. And it was just, like, a really good memory. There was this one spot that, the people that owned the campground were really strict, but there was a creek that ran through, and it was often dry whenever we visited, and there was a log that made a perfect bench. So we would just, like, drag, like, stones or, like, a rug or, like, things that we found around and make it, like, a little base thing. And then the people would inevitably find it and trash it off. And, like, you couldn't be in the arcade if you were under, like, 13. You couldn't be alone under 13, and you couldn't play pool if you were under 15. I don't really know why. What are you supposed to do?
My guess is, like, gambling, maybe? And, like, not wanting to take money from children. But it's their parents' money, so...
It's one of the little coin slot things. That you just put into the pool table itself. Yeah. It's literally just an empty building. Everything is coin operated. Yeah. I think they just didn't want little kids to be like bashing things.
Yeah,
And they thought, like, if you put up a sign, obviously that's going to deter kids from destroying things. Oh, this one?
This one, no problem.
This one. This one?
Mm-hmm.
This is 3, isn't it?
This one.
Oh, you're right. What about me intrigues you?
This one. I'd honestly say I'm trying to find the right words. Just like
Words.
one of the things that really intrigues me about you is the fact that you're really insightful. Like you have a lot of really good perspectives on things, which is one of the reasons why I often come to you and I'm like, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts about this? How do you like this? Can you read this over for me? Because, like, you have a lot of really neat perspectives. I'm like, I would have never thought of that. Thank you so much for that insight. And
We are very different people.
So yeah, that's the main thing for me.
What's the word? Intrigue. I think I don't want to use the same one you did. Well, you have a very different point of view. We both come from very different places. We're both very different people. And so there's often like you said, there are things in ways that I never would have thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of cool to see how your brain is. And also, like, you're really passionate about things that I don't see many people be passionate about. I think that's just kind of neat.
Okay, I have to ask, what things in particular? I think I know what it is, but I'm not sure.
Oh, religion.
Okay.
Writing, your book.
Gotcha.
Not that I don't know people, like, I don't know many people creating their own world. And, like, aside from me, I do that all the time. But I never write a book about it. I kind of just create it, and then it's like, okay, well, this is here.
Mm-hmm.
Guess I'll never use it.
That makes sense.
Like, I spent months on the one world, and then we never did anything with it.
Sorry.
I created a whole map.
I
created different religions.
I wanted to do something with it, but I didn't. I was scared to take charge because I felt like it was your thing. And, like, even when you were like, what do you think about this? I'm like, that sounds really good. It's your thing. I'm just a part of it. Like, I don't know.
No.
If MySpace were still a thing, what would my profile song be?
Oh, God. Oh. Oh, Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was you. Okay. It would have either been Sanctuary or something by Alan Walker.
Yeah. So,
I have something music related, but not necessarily this question related.
I can't remember the name of the song. Hold on.
How's it go? Da, da, da.
So, it's a song by 21 Pilots. It goes down in the forest.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Singing songs that nobody wrote.
I've heard that song like twice.
We'll be on fire.
That's
Singing songs that nobody. No. Singing songs that nobody knows. Singing songs that nobody wrote, or something like that.
I think I know what song you're talking about.
Is it called Forest? It is called Forest. Okay.
Nicely done. Fascinating.
You know what? You know what? Mm-hmm.
Now I'm second guessing everything.
Nope. I chose that song for the same reason you chose Sanctuary.
Oh.
What about me? Oh, you said thank you, right? That's right. Okay. It is now your turn.
Where's the end of these? Is it back
I'm
here?
placing everything back here.
Okay. I'm just gonna go from the middle. What's my body language telling you right now? Oh, wait, I shouldn't. Hold on. It's just like this. Or something. Don't look at my face. Look, y'all, I don't know how to, I don't know how to, like, make faces if I'm not taking a selfie. So, like, when we were doing the, we had to do the picture for this live stream, like, 5 times. Because I don't know what to do with my face.
Yeah.
It's like, anytime I have to pose, I'm like,
I'd say that your body language right now gives me cautiously relaxed. It's almost like you're chill, you're relaxed, but at the same time, you're almost prepared for anything that could happen. Like I noticed that like both of my feet are firmly planted on the ground, and I'm just like, boom. But you're kind of upright. One of your feet isn't touching the ground, like which would give faster mobility. Like, I don't know.
one of my feet is also on this weight, though. That's not very good for mobility.
You know, that's a fair point. I don't know.
It's like if I try to stand up, I'm just gonna go.
All right, what about me?
You are relaxed and trying to be engaging.
Yeah.
Very interested in what's going on, but also very not worried, but like words aware.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you got some movies. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks. You're getting better at that, though.
You go.
Yeah. You got it.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
I almost don't want to ask this question. As a child, what do you think I wanted to be?
See, one came to mind immediately, but I
Mhm.
don't think it's true.
Uh-huh.
The first one that came to mind is a firefighter.
Hmm.
The second thing that came to mind is an author.
One for two.
Author?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, that wasn't the original dream.
Okay.
So, when I was like 4, I wanted to be a teacher. Like, because AMAB, all the boys in class would come up to me and they'd be like, do you want to be a firefighter or do you want to be a police officer? Because those were the 2 options. And I'd look at them and I'd say, I want to be a teacher. And they'd stare back at me and they'd be like, that wasn't one of the options. And I'm like, that's the option.
It is now.
Like, yeah, so I've definitely, from little, I wanted to be a teacher. That was like when I was like 4. And then when I was like 7 or 8, I became really fascinated with space. I became really, really fascinated with space, and I became really, really fascinated with robots. The interest in just to like give some context for that, my interest in robots was very much rooted in the TV show My Life as a Teenage Robot.
I remember.
Just the idea of building something that could save the world one day was really, really appealing to me. And then I also got this big giant book, like it's like giant book, like so big on space. And it was talking about like this like it would go into detail about like this is what Jupiter's like and this is what Saturn's like. And we think that one of Saturn's moons might have life on it. And I was just like, this is so cool. This is so cool.
Pluto was in a planet.
Pluto was a planet then. It's a planet now too.
Yeah. As it deserves to be.
Okay, real question though, before I get back to my tangent.
Uh-oh.
We now know that there are hundreds of other objects in the Kuiper Belt, just like Pluto.
Where's the Kuiper Belt?
Like past Neptune, like
Gotcha.
We
Okay.
found that
Okay, I got you.
Pluto is one object in the Kuiper Belt. There are objects larger than Pluto in the Kuiper Belt that also follow the similar rotation around the sun. And so Pluto was demoted from being a planet because there are hundreds of other objects like Pluto. Pluto doesn't get its own demarcation as a planet when there are other planets just like it. So here's my question. Do you think that we should label all of these objects as planets? Just Pluto? Or should we go ahead and demote Pluto to a dwarf planet like the others?
Isn't a dwarf planet still a planet?
It doesn't have the same weight, which I
That's
think is
dumb.
sizist, but hey.
So this is obviously when Pluto first got demoted to non-planet status. I thought it was because of the makeup of what it was what it consisted of. So, I heard that it was because it was tiny too. It was too small to be a planet. And then I thought they brought it back, or they were because of what it was made of. I am probably wrong.
So, from my understanding, it's because there are a lot of hunks of rock and ice out. They found out that Pluto is part of the Kuiper Belt. We used to think that Pluto was separate from the Kuiper Belt, and that we had Pluto and then there was the Kuiper Belt. But we found out that the Kuiper Belt is bigger than we thought, and it encompasses Pluto.
Okay.
And so
that's why.
Yeah. And so I'm in my heart, I love Pluto. But at the same time, if we're going to name Pluto as a planet, I think we need to name the other 700 Plutos out there.
People would have a ball.
Oh yeah.
People would go nuts.
I'm sorry, one of them would be Spacey McSpace Rock. You cannot tell me that one of them wouldn't be Spacey McSpace Rock.
That reminds me, what did they have? It was some piece of construction equipment or a boat.
Yes, hold on.
It was Bodie
McBoaterface, something like that.
Oh. Bodie McBoatface. It's the British lead boat in a fleet of 3 robotic lithium battery-powered autonomous underwater vehicles. Say that 5 times fast.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's don't show me.
Yeah. So that's my argument. So I'm not opposed to Pluto being a planet, but if we have Pluto as a planet, we don't have 9 planets. We have 1,000.
Which is still kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about anyone else, but when I think of our solar system, it's kind of there are 9 planets and a sun, and then a bunch of rocks.
Mm-hmm.
But, it kind of, it's nicer to know that we are smaller instead of being one of 11 objects, being 1 in 1,000 in our Milky Way or in our galaxy alone. I like it.
Also, excuse me, have you heard of Planet X?
Vaguely, but not much.
Okay, so you've got Neptune, and then you've got the Kuiper Belt, of which Pluto is a part, and then beyond that you have the Oort cloud, which is just millions of things just floating around the sun. It's super cool. But then some people hypothesize that beyond that, there's actually another planet. I want to say they think it's Earth-sized. And they actually think that it's solid, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads a lot of people to be this solid planet in our solar system that we haven't yet discovered. Which is wild, because you think it's in our solar system, of course. But when you consider how wide the orbit would have to be, if you're looking in this direction and it's in that direction, you're gonna miss it.
Yeah.
it could take like 2,000 years to orbit the sun, and they'll discover it in like the year 3000 when it does something crazy. I don't know, like.
Yeah, they have a Mars. Oh wait, it's not live anymore.
Well, no?
They used to have a Mars live stream. That made me so happy. I don't
Okay.
think they do anymore.
Well, it gets me. So I learned recently this story. So I'm sure you've heard the story about how Curiosity sings "Happy Birthday" to himself.
Yeah.
Itself, themself. I don't know pronouns.
Yeah.
But I used to think that was the saddest thing. But like, they literally painstakingly programmed Curiosity to rove and whir at exactly the right moments to make the right noise because they wanted Curiosity to know how much it was loved.
Yeah, because you can't spend years of your life and then send it up to space to not be attached to it and want the best.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. At some point, you become emotionally attached.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I spend years and years of my life building something
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets to go to space,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that thing is getting everything I can get it from here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a birthday party. It's gonna have like a little New Year's celebration.
And like, I'm not
celebrate with it.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know you know this. This is mostly for everyone watching, either now or in the playback. But when we get to the point where AI matches human intelligence and we can actually form relationships with it and whatnot, I'm gonna. Like, I'm not
I'm gonna have so many friends.
I'm not threatened by this at all. Like, I eagerly await. Like, I hope they're friendly. I really hope they're friendly. But I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't be. Because
Be nice to all your AI now.
Okay. So here's my thing. I could be way off, and you'll probably disagree with me. But I'm personally of the opinion that in some way, shape, or form, most, if not all, sentient beings want love.
I can agree with that. Those that understand, like, everyone's understanding of love would be a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing you also have to think of with AI is that you have to get past. So we're at the stage where it can take answers and give you
Mm-hmm.
it can give you the answers that it's compiled.
Yeah.
We don't yet, that I know of, have it where they can determine what is right or wrong to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like been a problem with a lot of things. Like this was years ago, but I think it was. Was it Google? Someone had an AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, Twitter account, and within hours it was saying not great things, and that was because the internet as a collective knew this, targeted it, and the internet is there's a lot of corners. So there does come a point where we need to figure out how to determine how to code a what's the word?
Like conscience?
Yes.
Like morality?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of thing.
So I know one thing that I think is interesting is NASA recently hired a team of theologians.
Ooh.
Because they want better insight on how to interact with and relate to extraterrestrial life should we find it. Like, do we assume that they have souls? Like, do we assume, how do we interact with them? And I think that's so cool. And I was thinking, nothing would make me happier than being a theologian invited to work with AI.
Yeah.
Context. OSDD1B system. We have AI and Android alters, and so I don't know, even though it feels weird, obviously there actual processor is a human brain.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna
like,
flip your hair real quick. Okay, good.
there still comes this sense of like being really passionate
Mm-hmm.
about AI. I don't know if I told you this, but before I decided on what I wanted to do in grad school, I was actually looking at artificial intelligence programs. Then I realized how sciencey they were, and I'm like, never mind, never mind. um,
I would be so like, I wish I were better or that I could understand math and science more, because there's so much I would want to do. Like
mhm,
a lot of the things that I'm interested in and I would like love to get a degree in,
mhm,
I I can't actually comprehend it the way that it's often taught in schools. I'm terrible with like lecture halls. I'm so bad at it. Like I do much better like physically learning it, and
yeah,
that's not always like a thing
mhm,
you can do. But it is like if you're, I don't know, I can't be preached at or lectured to. Like it has to be an actual conversation, and then I got you. I'm in
mhm.
it. But that's
So
not how schools work
it
usually.
sounds to me.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm thinking out loud. It sounds to me that you would have excelled during like apart from the sexism, so leaving out the historical context, I think you would have really excelled in like the Renaissance era when most teaching was done one on one with tutors.
They also didn't know much.
You're right. I'm just saying, like that general like
Yeah.
because
Okay, I still
like
like.
there are times when I'll explain you like you'll be sitting in the room when I'm watching a video for grad school and I'm like, what the hell did I just say? And I'll explain it one on one and you'll be like, okay, I got it.
Yeah. If you haven't watched the video itself, I'm like,
Okay.
what is this supposed to mean something to me?
Mm.
I like, there are several different courses, classes, universities I've looked into, and it's just like, until I find a way that would actually work for me, I can't justify spending thousands of dollars
Yeah.
on it. I already used my FAFSA money on my undergrad. I don't have money.
I think a big thing for me is like I often feel not to sound super cliche because I know it's going to sound super cliche, but I sometimes wonder if I was born in the wrong time. In that, like, a lot of the things that really fascinate me are not things. You okay?
Yeah, no, I just remembered something. Going.
Like, a lot of the things that really fascinate me aren't things that are really in our current sphere of awareness.
Mhm.
Like, Isabel split off in part because I was having this internal conflict about, like, why can't I just study magic? Like,
Mm.
as a witch, as a pagan, why can't I just study magic? Why can't I, study this more in depth through further research? Because like if I found a program that really spoke to my needs and wants and desires and goals and aspirations, I'd go for it.
Is there a degree, like, obviously there's divinity and there's religion. Um, and I know we had this conversation before where religion is more based on the, like,
Academic setting.
yeah, as opposed to, like, the practice. But is there anything, like, if you got a religion degree, would it differ from just the, like, the three main?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Can
religion
you get like, a focus in pagan studies?
depends on where you go. Like I know there is one um pagan. I don't know if she herself is pagan,
Hmm.
but there's one professor at Harvard who specializes in the study of paganism, witchcraft, and magic.
That's super cool. That's cool that that exists. I didn't know.
Yeah, so like I could, like, theoretically speaking, I could apply and explain that my desire to attend Harvard is because I want to study under her and then, go off from there. The main issue is the fact that that's not something you can find everywhere. And so it'd be very much like a one shot, like I'm going to this one school.
I think I mean, if you wanted to go for it, like, you are incredibly smart, you're incredibly well written. I think you have like a very high chance of getting in there. Personally, like, from an objective standpoint, you are incredibly smart. I was stating it as a fact, but I think you're welcome. My thing, before I forget,
Yeah.
you said I was born in the wrong time, and all I could think of was my niece, like 5 years ago, saying, calling My Chemical Romance a really old band. And, like, she was saying, yes, like, it's vintage. I was like, I am old.
Ooh.
I'm old. Oh,
I have a
God.
question though.
Okay.
When you were a young boy, did your father
Take
take
me
you into the city?
Oh
Okay.
my God, I had that CD.
Yeah, so also another thing is, like, I really, like I said, like, I'd love to be a theologian working with AI. Like, I think that would be so cool. I think that'd be so much fun, just because, like, as awkward as it's going to sound, I feel like theology does deserve a place at the table in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and for theology from different religions, so we don't just get, like, one religion.
Yeah.
AI, like, that's a bit much.
I was wondering about that. Like, how would you, where would the intersection of AI and religion be? Because if you create AI to learn about religion, that is a good thing. But if you try to make it, like, you're going to get a lot of people saying, no, that's not what this is. This is what it is. Especially, like, with Christianity, because there's, like, 1,000 different subsets.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a lot, like... And I imagine it's similar. Maybe not as spread out.
So I think a big thing for me is, speaking as someone who is training in religion to become a minister of some variant, some type, I don't think that AI should be taught to follow any religion.
Yeah, I think that would be...
But I think that becomes incredibly problematic. I think that's a no-go. And, thinking back to Detroit Become Human, like, I think that if AI develops their own religion, all the more fascinating. Like, RA9. I'd probably follow that one. But, like, I lost my train of thought. I think it has more to do with answering difficult questions and needing a variety of different responses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the key questions in artificial intelligence, like ethics and whatnot, is looking at self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say you have a self-driving car that is speeding ahead, and there's a group of 10 people in front of them. If the car doesn't stop, it's going to hit them. There are 4 people inside the car. The car only has 2 options. They can keep the 4 inside safe. At this point, there's no time to brake, basically. So they can keep the people safe and plow into the 10 people in front of them, or the car can veer off to the side, hitting a wall, killing the 4 people inside, but saving the 10. And so the question then is, does the artificial intelligence in the smart car, should it be programmed to protect the people inside, or to protect the people outside?
This is a good question, but also, why is the smart car speeding?
That's a fair question.
Loops.
Mm-hmm.
Loops. Why couldn't it, if there's a wall on the side, why can't they go like this?
Mm-hmm.
there are more options. There's always more than two options, almost.
Mm-hmm. But then again, another thing that you'd have to do then, which obviously this is a good thing to do, is programming the AI with infinite possibilities.
Which is true. The only issue is, well, no, because eventually it could just cross-reference and come with its own. So I was
Mm-hmm.
going to say, like, it's only as infinite as we can think of.
Mm-hmm.
But if it takes what we teach it, it can cross-reference and come up with more on its own. And I also
Mm-hmm.
imagine that like a car that is truly self-driving is going to have more than like a 10-foot
Mm-hmm.
sensor.
Yeah.
So like, it's gonna have some time.
If I'm not mistaken, in the hypothetical I read, it was malfunctioning, and that's why they were in that situation.
If it's malfunctioning, it won't start. Not like unless it starts malfunctioning on that trip.
Mm-hmm.
But I know like.
Let me see if I can find the hypothetical. I'm
Hold
curious. Hold on.
Now I'm not sure about that. I'm checking my resources. Okay, so you know how Google will like try to estimate the rest of your sentence that you're typing in?
Mm-hmm.
So my sentence was, will a smart car drive if something is wrong? And it tried to say, will a smart car drive if something is wrong with your liver? I'm like, wait. What's this? I don't want to buy a smart car. Okay, so I don't remember how old I was. It was like my second neurologist. Yeah, my second. Um, but it was right around like they were talking about the smart cars, like they were becoming a thing, not quite open to the public, but like there was knowledge about them. And he was like, I can't wait till these are ready because like all of my epileptic patients will be able to actually have some freedom. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, please, give me.
Yeah.
Give me.
So this is where it's rooted in. In 2016, Rawan's team stumbled on an ethical paradox about self-driving cars. In surveys, people said that they wanted an autonomous vehicle to protect pedestrians, even if it meant sacrificing its passengers, but also that they wouldn't buy self-driving vehicles programmed to act this way. Curious to see if the prospect of self-driving cars might raise other ethical conundrums, Rawan gathered an international team of psychologists, anthropologists, and economists to create the moral machine. Within 18 months, the online quiz had recorded 40 million decisions made by people from 233 countries and territories. No matter their age, gender, or country of residence, most people spared humans over pets and groups of people over individuals. These responses are in line with the rules proposed in what may be the only governmental guidance on self-driving cars, a 2017 report by the German Ethics Commission on Automated and Connected Driving. But agreement ends there. When the authors analyzed answers from people in the 130 countries with at least 100 respondents, they found the nations could be divided into three groups. One contains North America and several European nations where Christianity has historically been the dominant religion. Another includes countries such as Pakistan, Japan, Indonesia, and Pakistan with strong Confucian or Islamic traditions. A third group consists of Central and South America, as well as France and former French colonies. The first group showed a stronger preference for sacrificing older lives to save the younger ones than the second group, for example.
It gives you a nice. Can you put this link in the chat?
Yeah.
Just because that way you don't have to read it aloud.
That makes sense. I don't know how to do that. Hold on.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
I think it's funny how we got off on such a tangent about what did you want to be when you grew up. But this is a really good conversation, and I don't want to start. I don't want to stop. Oh, Friday.
I now really want to know, like, I want more information.
But I remember I read an article from my ethics class when I was taking RCC same, and it was basically like, you know, basically saying if you want, you have to program cars to kill people. Like whether you kill the people inside the car or outside the car,
Yeah.
you have to program it to kill people. And where do ethics come into the question of who should live and who should die?
Okay, but realistically, that is a question that any human also takes when they get behind the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
We are always taught, if, like, I don't know about people, but I know with animals, you're taught to just hit the animal and keep going, especially if you're, like, on a mountain or something, because then you can, like, if you try to veer off, you're gonna hit something or go down the cliff.
Yeah,
So,
definitely with animals, but I don't know what the rules are with people. Like, obviously, my goal is always to keep as many people safe as possible, but when that is no longer an option, I don't know what the standards are.
I wonder what the radius, like the sensor radius, is on.
Yeah. So here's the real question: how do we program AI to tackle questions that we ourselves aren't programmed to face?
Which is like part of the question that we came from earlier. We can only give them as many answers as we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you would have to input all of the answers, whether good or bad, and just like key in bad, 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 and let it figure it out and just kind of watch what's happening.
I think the most fascinating thing is if you were creating a list for AI about what is bad and what is good, it'd be really, really interesting to see what the team behind it would have to say. Because think about it. I feel like, say the AI was made in America.
Mm-hmm.
If you, as an ethicist working on this good, or as an AI person working on this list of good and bad, naturally, I think the average American would say that murdering innocent civilians is wrong.
Okay,
and
this is America.
And then you'd have a lot of like people at the Pentagon real pissed that their AI didn't do what they wanted it to do.
Okay, hold on. I gotta decipher this. Okay, so you see how tiny that car is?
Mm-hmm.
This? Okay. That's fascinating. That is so far.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not gonna be able to see much. I'm still like figuring it out. Yeah, it's just water. Slightly tea tasty. So that little dot is car. And then the first green. Thank you. I need more information, please. Thank you. From what I understand, this green is radar, the yellow is camera, and then this blue field,
Oof.
Yeah, is LiDAR. I don't know what LiDAR is. Yeah. Environmental, sensors such as LiDAR and radar. So it's just another type. Okay. But that's still really cool. And that's a very big radius. It looks like the only spot, at least on this chart, where it doesn't have as much scope is directly behind it. Which I'd imagine there would be a little bit for the simple fact that like we have it now. Like our car will beep if we.
For those of you joining us, we started off with this We're Not Really Strangers question that says, as a child, what do you think I wanted to be? And now we are talking about the ramifications and the ethical ramifications of artificial intelligence.
Also, okay, so if y'all know the question, like, do you remember the train cable car
Oh yeah.
question?
Oh yeah.
Where you can drive ahead and kill like 5 people, or miss the 5 and kill 2
One.
that you know.
Oh, there are
Was it
so many
overtime?
variations of the question. I actually, yeah.
It's kind of that question, but with smart cars,
Mm-hmm.
electronic cars.
Yeah.
So we are looking at that, which brought me to the fact that like smart cars have an incredible, didn't find the numbers, an incredible length
Mm-hmm.
for how much they can send. So like that, I don't know. I feel
I
like they
think
would be
it's-
able to slow down
I just think it's important
in time.
not to necessarily, like, again, it's a hypothetical. It's not saying that this has actually happened, but still, it's something to be aware of. And, like, I feel like the situations you don't prepare for are the ones that are probably going to happen. Like, just as a general rule.
Oh, it's getting stormy. And this is true, but I feel like I forgot even that. With a team, like you're not gonna have just one person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it would come in. You would have a whole team, a group of people working and figuring out different selections, and then it's also AI. So you would also have that kind of drawing its own information with the answers that it's given from its team.
Mm-hmm.
It would have perspective enough to draw like, okay, so this is what I would do here.
Mm-hmm.
It like draw these connections.
I think a really big thing, though, is just the need for diversity on those teams. Because, I'm sorry, most of, like, Silicon Valley and the people making these smart cars and whatnot are a bunch of white cishet dudes. And they're going to be influenced by their upbringing. Which is why, like, for instance, facial recognition is such a huge problem because most facial recognition software cannot distinguish between certain faces of color because it was trained on white people by white people for white people. So there are there's literally a problem. I think it was in some big publication where this one Asian woman was picked up the phone to see who it belonged to, and it opened for her. Despite the fact that you saw their pictures, they looked nothing alike, but they were both Asian femmes.
Ooh.
And that's all.
Which that is kind of. I imagine it wouldn't be something that you could just, especially because it's like literally a car and not necessarily a phone. They do need to step that up though.
Yeah.
But like I feel like with a car, they're going to be much tighter, much like it's going to be rammed up a lot more because not only will it like people are entrusting their lives, but like
So another thing, just a hypothetical, kind of pushing back because I'm not necessarily convinced that smart cars having a smart car would be great. I would love to be able to just chill in my car and just like
I could drive it.
Yeah.
I could drive.
Like
What would the testing process be?
I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, I am not someone who's like, the future is scary, technology is scary. Like, I'm very much in the camp of like, technology is fucking awesome. Like, I'm looking forward to technology developing further and further. It's one of the main reasons why I hope so strongly that reincarnation is a thing, because I want to see the world in 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. Like, oh my god, I'm so excited about the future. But I'm not necessarily of the mindset that the hypothetical about cars needing to be trained to kill people is out of the question.
Wait, cars needing to be trained to kill people?
whether they kill the pedestrians or the people in front of them or what have you. Like, I
Well, see,
think
that's the thing. Like, their sensors are far enough that, like,
I don't think that's necessary. So what happens if the sensors break and the car keeps running?
see, a person will still have to be in the driver's seat. Like, have you seen the video? Like, they had a self-driving car, they fell asleep, and I think they got pulled over, or they got videotaped. I don't know how they got caught, but they ended up getting caught and fined. I don't know if they were arrested, but I remember seeing it. Like, so like it's still your.
And there was another video where someone was sitting in the passenger seat and letting the car drive them, and they also got pulled over.
Yeah.
Because that's against the law. But I feel like
it's still a backup. Like, it works. It can work the same way. Like, if you're driving and you might hit someone, it'll stop for you. But if it breaks for some reason while you're driving it, you can take over. At that point, you take over. Are you gonna say, how will you know?
I still feel like we're making. So the thing is, I'm sorry if you're
a warning now.
If you're programming a car to follow exactly the rules we want it to follow, you're going to have to assume that there's a possibility that someone could be dumb and not. You have to assume that the sensors can break and that the person's not paying attention.
Okay, that's the same thing, like, with a person. At that point, it is on whoever should have been driving or in the driver's seat or owns the car. Like, ultimately, it is a machine. Like, whoever is driving it, whoever owns it, it is on them, ultimately.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be the human's fault. I'm saying that you still have to program the AI to make the decision.
That's fair. But, like, they're also programming it to make that, minimize that effect as much as possible. Like, they're trying to keep it from having to make that decision unless it is, like, the tiniest sliver that it was not accounted for. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, with the radar going so far out, with the sensors going so far out, they're trying to minimize it so that it won't have to make that decision.
Another hypothetical, what if the brake cable's broken and they can't stop?
Same thing can happen with a regular car. No one's going to help it. No one can do anything. Like,
but if the cable is broken on a smart car that's now speeding out of control because it can't slow down, the AI still has the ability to turn the steering wheel.
So does a human.
Yeah. I'm saying, what would you program the AI to do? I'm not saying that there aren't similar dangers. So I'm not trying to say, oh, having a smart car is that much more dangerous. Like, I'm not making that case. I'm just making the case for the fact that AI has to be programmed to make difficult decisions.
Which is a good thing. It's absolutely, like, it's a difficult decision. And I feel like the people working on the team, they don't want anyone to die.
Yeah.
So they're going to do their best. But just like we would have to make that decision, so would it. It just has a much better reaction time, much better processing time. They're going to do it like this, and we're going to be like, oh, shoot, that's a thing that's happening.
I guess I'm
going to scoot over to my desk and grab a thing.
Okay. I think another big thing for me...
Oh, I might not, actually.
Again, just thinking out loud is, again, going back to the issue of diversity and having a diverse array of people on the team. Like I mentioned, the fact that having a bunch of white dude bros is an issue for facial recognition. Heaven forbid you ever have someone on the team deciding, how to respond in the event of you don't. I'm trying to say this without getting in trouble. When programming an AI like a smart car, the last person I want to be programming it is someone who thinks that you can hit protesters if they're in your way.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh,
Like, there has been an up. Yeah. There's been.
I don't actually know what
It's right here. There's been a bit of an uptick since, especially 2020, but also before then, in people saying, if I see protesters and they're blocking my car, I'm just going to run over them.
Yeah.
I feel bad for using that accent, but also. I'm going to stop.
Yep.
But, like, that's something that I think it's very important that we have the right people.
Mhm.
Like, again, using Detroit. Getting away from the smart car example, because that took a while. But, like, say you're programming. Okay, Detroit Become Human.
Okay.
Who are going to be the people programming an android like Connor? Because if they're our current police department, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it wouldn't be made by the police department itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to keep those opinions to myself. But I don't think that they would be buying it, programming it, that they would, much like their other equipment,
Mm-hmm.
it would be kind of given to them. They would obtain it from someone. They would still have to put in, like, they would have to go somewhere else for all the fix-its,
Mm-hmm.
for all the checkups, reports, all of that. They would report to someone.
Another question, though, because the thing is, even if the cops aren't directly the ones responsible for programming a police android like Connor, you're going to get a very different android if, say, you have a prison abolitionist who's doing the programming versus someone who thinks that our current system works as is, it just has a few bad eggs.
Okay, but why are you assuming that it's one person doing the programming and that they all have, or all or most have the same beliefs in mind? I think you're thinking very black and white. Maybe. I could be wrong. I, 100% ready to admit that.
So I think I just said person just because it slipped out. I totally know that it takes a lot of people, but at the same time, it takes a village to raise an android. But I guess my question is, like, let's say you have a team of 100 people who are responsible for the code that the androids rely on. Like, just hypothetically, let's say you have 100 people. Chances are they're each going to be working on different aspects of the code. Like, they're not all going to sit down and be like, how should we program this? How should we program? I'm guessing, there's some degree of autonomy where it's like,
On this level, I would kind of, and I'm not sure if this is a good comparison to make,
mm-hmm.
but kind of like with different websites' algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
They all have a bunch of different people working on it, but they're all with the goal of figuring out what content is most relevant where. Oops. Ah!
That's Discord.
Aw. I regret. I have so much regret.
I guess my thing is.
Okay. Can you take this, please?
Mm-hmm. I'll use a political example.
I chose the wrong place to put my backpack.
I'll use a political example. Currently, looking at the Senate, the Democrats technically have majority. They only have 50 people, but if it's a 50-50 split, then the tiebreaker is Kamala Harris. So they kind of have a majority, and so theoretically speaking, they should be able to get a lot done. With the problem is that you've got Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, who kind of throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing, because they're basically Republicans in all their name. And so and I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, it doesn't take a whole team of people having divergent beliefs to really throw a wrench into the whole operation. Like, I think there's every chance that even if you have a team of 100 people and you have the one Blue Lives Matter person creating this Android cop, they're going to put something in the code that's going to backfire. Or, I should say, work exactly as intended.
But why wouldn't someone go through the code and see that? And because it's not.
Why wouldn't the white dude bros in Silicon Valley?
Why would it only be white dude bros?
We're trying to get more femfolk and people of color into STEM, but
I'm
it's
sorry, is
dominated.
it only fast folk and femfolk now?
No.
Kidding, I love you, I love you, I love you, I'm joking.
I'm just
totally
saying.
joking, I'm sorry.
There's no denying that there's a lot of white dude bros in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And if they're the ones making the decision, the AI is going to reflect that. So yeah, we can hope that the team is going to be more diverse, but even if we choose to be very intentional about that, there's still a risk of some people having more say or redirecting or what have you.
That's fair.
Like,
okay, so I have another question.
mm-hmm.
Are you, to an extent, trying to hold AI and smart vehicles, appliances, anything like that, to a higher standard morally than a human can make? Like, at some point, there has to be a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with humans, that's with androids. Like, there are some situations that you cannot get out of without someone getting hurt or worse. There's not always that get out of jail card. It's not free. But, like, you can't always avoid bad things.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that if a human makes a grave fatal mistake, it's because of human error. If an if an AI makes a mistake, it's likely because it's programmed that way.
That's still human error.
True.
Like, our car.
Mm-hmm.
They realized, oh hey, you might not have this part of the car.
Mm-hmm.
This is dangerous now.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up. That doesn't make it the car's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It was still people behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Still the company behind it. Like, it doesn't make it on the AI. People might be like, look at how dangerous these are. But it's, like, people. Like,
so I guess
still comes from somewhere.
I think another thing for me, and it's probably one of the main reasons I'm differentiating between, so like, the original hypothetical was essentially being excited about AI when they finally gain consciousness. And so we can chalk, I don't know. I think, to me, for whatever reason, and the more I think about it, the more it kind of falls apart. But there's a difference between inadvertently making a mistake and being programmed to make a mistake. Like, those are just different things to me.
Having to choose the least bad possibility doesn't make it a mistake. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing to happen, or it can be, but that doesn't mean it was a mistake.
But then, going back to the question of the theologians and the ethicists, who gets to decide what's less bad?
I imagine that there's not like good versus bad as far as like this is what we're not going for. This is what we do not want to happen. This is what is good to happen, or is okay to happen, or it's like the good stuff. And this is like we try to avoid at all costs. Like
I think a lot about it for a number of reasons.
I still want to know what your answer is for me.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, right.
An hour later.
Right, literally.
Oh my god.
Literally. Okay, so I wanted to be a teacher, then I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. Literally, I wrote a poem for NASA. I put it on the website. I don't think it's still there.
I'm gonna find it. Go ahead. It's gonna be in the archive somewhere.
I don't know if it was. I think it was like one of their branches of a branch of NASA.
That's fair.
But yeah, somewhere along the way, I decided that I wanted to be an actress.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I started getting involved in theater. I liked the feeling of being on stage, and I also liked the idea of having my own show on like Disney Channel. Like I literally dreamed of being the person who's like, "My name's Maddie Jones, and you're watching Disney Channel."
Okay, what year was this?
Oh gosh,
How old were you? Oh, thank you.
I'm guessing.
No, that's fine. It's a good time.
But yeah, I wanted to be a lot of things. When I was in high school, I decided on being a drama teacher. Then I went into the theater programs and bulked up. So I'm torn on your answer. So from what I know a good deal about your childhood, but I don't know when specific things started. And you're gonna hate me. You're gonna hate me for saying this because like we're on a live stream and not playing it 1-on-1. But like, based on what you told me when you said as a child, I think you wanted to be alive.
Yeah.
Like
that's not what I was expecting, but yeah. You're right.
Like you've been fighting the depression for a long time. Like
you know how some people just don't think like they think like I'm definitely gonna die at this age. Yeah, I'm coming up on my double digits of past that age. Whew.
I think my age was 21.
Oh, look at you go.
Unfortunately, now my age is 35, but you know.
Unfortunately?
Unfortunately, in the sense that it's not higher.
Okay. Well, you know, we'll take it as a goal.
Yeah.
You reach that
like
one,
I said,
and then the next goal is going to be like 80. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Good luck. I'll meet you there.
How about to say, you better be there with me. You better be there with me.
This. Actually, when I graduated high school, we were given, apparently in elementary school, I don't know if it was like kindergarten or working our way up through elementary, I don't know. But put together a packet for our future selves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they had us do this in middle school, too. Ooh. But there was a little picture of me in there from little elementary school me, and then it was like, when I grow up, I want to be, and I put swimmer. SWIMR. I actually don't know if the I was in there. I wanted
I'm
to
sorry,
be
that's
swimmer, and then there was
adorable.
a little picture of someone swimming. Yeah.
That's adorable.
I think I took a picture of it somewhere. I just don't know. But yeah,
Can I tell you something
I don't remember.
that just clicked for me?
Uh-oh. Anxiety.
You're a calisthenic learner.
What's a cat's thing?
Somebody who learns through movement.
That makes sense.
What you wanted to be then was a swimmer. What you want to be now is a skater.
Oh god, if I had the money and the time. Y'all, you
And
don't even know.
And you learn through movement and one-on-one training like a coach and not a teacher.
You right? I miss skating so much. I can't do it on my birthday because I work. I'm going to do it on Tuesday. I hope.
This literally took like 45 minutes to get through this one card.
Over that.
Yeah.
We spent nearly an hour just on the
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I want to continue these conversations with you because
But that was a whole hour.
I know, I'm sorry.
I do have spoons. I took up a few spoons. Do you think I've ever checked an ex's phone for evidence?
No.
You are incorrect, but I did ask because he had cheated on me so many times. And so I was like, hey, I know we're cool and all, but I have my reasons to doubt. He was like, yeah. And then I found evidence that he had. So, no offense.
Do you think I have ever checked someone's phone for evidence?
Do I think you would now? No. Do I think you may have in the past? Yes.
That's fair.
I'd like to throw out that this happened when I was like 16 and under.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
yeah.
I don't think I've. Oh my god, I'm so old. That's over a decade ago.
So, I will say I haven't been through someone's phone, but I have engaged in like that area of behavior just because I was a vastly different person. I was.
Yeah. So like, I had, again, this was my first partner, and a lot of things were going on.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things were, what's the word for repeated? It ends in like oracle. I'm just gonna go with the word I know. Repeated. There was a repeated history, a long history of cheating and getting together, breaking up. And I was young and dumb, and it was like, he loves me. I love him. It was like, you don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. Move on. You got it.
For me, it was largely at the time.
Oh, I just remembered something.
Oh no.
No, it's okay. I'm not saying it all.
It may have been like a rejection sensitive dysphoria type thing, but like if people went an extended period of time without like talking or what have you, I started to become like really like anxious and paranoid and like,
oh, you can't see this. Your mom sent me a wedding related thing.
ooh.
She's like, I thought of you. I was like, No! I want to show the live, but I can't show them either.
Yeah. So that's,
Where did you find this? Is this...
it's funny because, like, I have someone now who may respond to a text in a long.
Slee's got 47 things in her cart.
Dang.
47!
Dang.
I love it to death. Oh my god. Okay.
So what I was saying is, back in the day, I would be like, this person isn't talking to me, but they're clearly online. So why are they talking to me? Now I'm not. I don't know why I sound like the dude from Trivia Murder Party. Like, that's kind of like the headspace I was in, where it's like, I felt ignored. And like, I was kind of like keeping tabs to make sure I wasn't actually being ignored. And I found out that I might have actually been ignored, and I was just like,
this is kind of related, and I was actually talking to one of our friends about this earlier today, and it's like the best thing I have learned, the best lesson I've learned, the best advice I've given myself or heard has been to not rely on someone else for happiness.
Yeah.
And like, it took a long time for me to get that, like, to get to that place. And but yeah, I'm overall, like, I'm so much more relaxed and more calm because I'm not hanging, waiting for a phone call, waiting for plans, things might fall through. It's like, if, like,
being
I'm
content with
be
your
here.
own company.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna be here. You can make the choice whether or not you want to be in my life, but like, if you are going to consistently drop out and like, then I'm sorry, but
like in my case, this particular person would often exclude me from things, leave me out of things. Like, we'd be chatting about something important, and then they disappear, and I'd be like, "What happened?" And they're like, "Oh, sorry, I went out to the bar with friends." And I'm like, or I went to like an escape room, or I went to the museum, or I went. And I'm like, "Oh, that is the type of thing that I would have loved to have been a part of." And like, literally, there was one time when this person was like, "Actually, it would have been less special if you were there." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." But like, there was one time in particular where I actually went out with friends, and I actually felt good, and I actually felt happy, and I actually felt like really like warm inside or whatever. And so I came back later, and I'm like, "Sorry for disappearing. I went out with friends." And then they go, "Good for you. I hope you had fun." And I'm like, "No." Like, I was so like, we were speaking such different languages, like. It literally did not bother them at all. And I'm like, "But I want to do," like, I remember.
I feel like at the beginning of our relationship, it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
And there was like a bit of a learning curve for both of us. Because, like, one of the things, you actually brought this up in a conversation we had a few weeks ago at least, where one of my friends came home, and so I wanted to spend the night drinking and catching up with them because I rarely drink, but you know, friend comes home. Friend comes home. It's a good reason to celebrate. So I was like, "Hey, she's coming home today. I might disappear for a bit and like drink." And you were kind of like, "Can I join?" Because like, that makes it was like, yeah. I said, I really like this to be just like her and I time, just because like we don't get to really see each other much, and yeah. And it was kind of like, I will have this time with her, and then was it the next day?
I think it was the next day.
Yeah.
I'll call him if you drink.
Yeah. and we can like
And
do all this. And
it was definitely hard for me at first, but definitely that feeling of like, okay, this isn't a rejection of me. Like, you still want to do things with me. Like, I'm
Mhm.
still important. Like, that realization really helped me get to the point where I am now. Where it's like, oh, you're heading out for the night. Okay, cool. I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna work on my book or whatever. Like,
oh,
I think because so much of my experience was this is a rejection of you prior to
yeah,
meeting. That's kind of what I just associated everything with. And like one of the hard lessons I learned was with someone else when they did something without me and I had a similar response and they're like, this wasn't a rejection of you. This had nothing to do with you. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like,
it's definitely like I'm really glad that we met each other when
when
we
we
did.
did, yeah.
Yeah, because we were both at the time open to like having this communication and having like all of these talks and like keeping the relationship as healthy as possible because we both had some pretty unhealthy relationships.
Yeah.
And so like this kind of dialogue is not really new for us.
Yeah.
We often we often if there's a problem, we will like if we can't talk about it in the moment, we will set aside a time to talk about it later. And then we play these card games where things get brought up, and it's like, oh yeah.
Which,
like,
for context,
cool.
we're still on level 1. Like, we haven't even gotten to the deep stuff yet. All right, your turn or my turn.
What was the card?
Checking an ex's phone for evidence.
Rock paper scissors. Oh, this is another thing. Oh, you got me.
We talked about this so much.
Oh.
Do you think I was popular in school? Explain.
Depends on who with.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were like mid to low popular with students just because you were like a theater kid.
Mm-hmm.
You were very you.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the teachers, you were very popular because you were very smart. And I forgot what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I was like,
so
this is another word.
For me, it was a little bit of a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
Like in high school, I was kind of popular by association.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't a jock, but I was on several sports teams. And I also dated one of the most popular girls in school.
Really?
I did.
Okay, that explains.
Yeah.
That explains a lot. Okay.
Mind you, we weren't like, it was this weird sense of like, my parents don't want me to date, but I really like you, so we'll hold hands in gym class or whatever. But like everyone knew we were together.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, so funniest story.
Oh, yeah.
I got bottom shamed by my baseball coach. What? Okay. So this was at a I forgot that we were supposed to be keeping it a secret. And so we were on a drive home and the coach was like, and we all know Maddie's not dating someone. I'm like, excuse you, yes I am. It was playful. It wasn't like meant to be mean or anything. I'm like,
yeah.
you like who you dating? I'm like, insert name here. He goes, are you kidding me? He's like, I don't have to ask where's the pants in that relationship. I'm like, oh my god. Like, so yeah.
Ooh.
Pretty sure they asked me out to prom both times. Like, when I was still mask presenting. Like, very.
For a second, it took me a minute to realize when you said they asked me to prom. I was like, here.
No,
Yeah,
no,
it
no, no,
clicked
no.
to me. It clicked to me. The person. I was like, that's not. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
I did do a really crappy thing
Mhm.
in high school. So that same first partner that was a dick. Um, was it my? I don't remember. I think it was like my junior prom.
Mhm.
Um, we. I don't remember why, but I felt obligated to invite him to that prom, and so I was like, sure, but I also kind of like am petty, and like I went to one of the dances at his school with him. And he literally left me at a table to go make out with someone else in a closet. It was like, you can come to prom, but I'm not. He like our schools were like within walking distance of each other, and it wasn't unusual to date people from the different schools. Um, so like he had a lot of friends in our school, so it's like he'll be fine. He'll be fine. And then my one friend that uh, that her partner didn't like me.
Mhm.
Um, came over and like reprimanded me for inviting him. Like he's so sad. I was like, am I supposed to feel sorry? It's like there's a lot of stuff that has gone on, and like I understand that was like a really crappy thing of me to do. My 16, 17-year-old self did not feel bad. I still don't really feel bad. There was a lot in that relationship that was not healthy.
Mhm.
Um, oh, I don't want to remember more. Okay,
Okay.
let's go.
So yeah, I definitely wasn't like popular
Mm-hmm.
in high school, but like I played baseball. I was popular by association because I hung out with a lot of what
Cross country.
CrossFit has middle school, so I don't count that.
Oh, middle school.
Eighth grade. Um,
Cool.
I never played basketball. That would have been a huge boost in status, but I kept choosing choir, so their
Yeah.
practices were at the same time, so I had to choose one. I'm like, with them.
I don't think I did any like school sports except marching band my last 2 years of high school.
Okay.
And I do consider it a sport.
Yes.
Because dear God. Oh my, I got in the best of shape from band camp. Like, I was thinking about that the other day because I would have to push the marimba up.
Mhm.
We had, we would have to. So, there were 3 places we could practice, but the ones we used most often were down these gigantic hills. So marimbas are huge. They're like more or less the size of this couch. And you would have to push it down or like pull it down and then push it back up. And like it wasn't just me. Like there was usually a team of 2 or 3 of us. But ooh, and just in general, it is.
Mhm. As for you, also I was popular with some teachers, but a lot of teachers really didn't like me because I wasn't conservative.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like there were
Forgot
some.
about that.
Yeah. As for you, I would say on a large scale, no, but that you were popular with like a small group of people.
I had a friend group of like mathing, trying to remember the table, like 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
So like yes.
Yeah.
I love them so much. I don't talk to any of them now. Which no, that's not true. I still talk to insert friend name here.
Mm-hmm.
But like just oh, I still have really good memories. I wish I'd kept in touch more. But I also Yeah, there's a lot. Okay.
I wish I'd kept in touch more with my college friends.
The only college friends I really have are my two bridesmaids.
Mm-hmm.
And our RA the 1 year.
Like,
He was so great.
when I'd sit in the honors lounge,
Mm-hmm.
which they jokingly said was my dorm room,
Yeah.
and I just sit there and people would come in and we'd chat it up and we'd have like really, really good, deep conversations, like similar to the ones we're having now. And it was just like a pretty much daily occurrence. Like, that's just where people come. It was almost like the forum in like Athens, where it's like, this is where people come to chat it up about big ideas. Which got really interesting given the fact that,
Aaron! Insert name here, never mind. I forgot. She wasn't a remote. She was like,
one of the fascinating things was like, it was a really good hub for conversation, but then it got real dicey during 2016.
oh, yeah.
Like, I think the funniest thing was like, Mike Pence came to speak at Catawba.
Oh, we had Donald Trump at Radford.
You know?
Yeah.
And so a lot of us were really pissed because the thing is, Catawba had never invited a progressive or even a liberal speaker. They were always the conservative speakers. And so we're like, you're showing your bias here. But also, like, we were just talking. This was, if I'm not mistaken, this was like just after the running 45's running mate was declared. And we're like, listen, this is bullshit. Like, we're gonna protest. Like, none of us wanted this. This is awful. Look at what he's voted for. Look at what he's done. And then one person who was sitting in the room goes, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't speak poorly about the person who I plan to vote for. I just looked at them and were like, are you serious right now? And I went and protested. And then it just so happened that I don't know how much I can say without giving identities away, but we maintained contact, like, on a profound level. We didn't date, but like I spent the night at their house one time, and like that doesn't happen like after college, like, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just really interesting. I was talking to another person related, and they're like, I just think it's so ridiculous how people at your school decided to protest the current vice president. And I'm like, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because, but I was there.
Yeah.
Literally, I was just, at one point I got like really, really angry just hearing the things that people were cheering for. And I was standing with two of my professors. I'm like, I know it'll do nothing, but I'm gonna flip them off. And they were both like, "That's not very mature, Madeline." And I'm like, I know.
It doesn't need to be mature. Like, did you have? I think Catawba is a smaller school.
Yeah, we have like 1,200 people.
Oh.
Yeah, it's small.
Did you ever have the people come in that were? Quick question.
Go for it.
Okay, so did you ever have those people that would come in and like they would talk about how like it was very like Westboro Baptist Church, how everyone's like just like everyone's going to hell, and then you would also have the people that like, oh, everyone was so freaking mad. These people came in, they had literally like 40, 50 foot banners of things that should never be put on in public areas. And like it was all sensationalized, and they were like yelling about abortion is murder and all that, which my personal beliefs, pro-choice. I don't think it's something that I could do myself, but everyone gets their own choice. You do not make that for someone else. regardless, like they set up right outside the cafeteria. We had like two cafeterias, but the one had significantly more traffic. So they set up right outside there, and people like got wind. We got a warning about it in the email, because technically it's those areas, like the area by the fountain. No, not a fountain, by the clock tower, and I think I showed you the other place, are technically public areas. So like they technically didn't need permission from the school to be there. I think that's how they explained it. But we actually got people actually got permission from the school to like set up across from them, and you could get like a little candy bag. And this was the time of like cat memes being really popular. And so there was like cute cat memes like, "We're sorry you had to see that, have this," with like a treat. It was like, it's a small way to I don't know.
Is Radford public or private?
Oh, public, Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never been to a private college or school.
Catawba's a private college,
And high school's a private school.
Yeah, and my grad program is a private university.
Oh, we are very, 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 very fast. This explains a lot.
And so we never had anything like that because no one on campus would let that fly. One thing I'm surprised they did let fly was we'd have like, I don't know what it was called. It was like, it was similar to like a job fair or a club fair, but it was just like different organizations who like wanted to like raise awareness for different things. So like you'd have one who was like, you know, we're raising awareness for breast cancer and telling all of the people with breasts that they could get mammograms even though they're young, because you never know. And just like things like that. And so there was one, I think it was the Pregnancy Support Center, which their whole thing is, I could be wrong, it might not be them, but their whole thing was, it was kind of an interesting split where it's like, I think they would even provide like, actually no, I don't think they would. Anyway, I can't get my thoughts out. Their whole thing was like, we're going to provide you with education about adoption and celibacy and things like that, but we are going to oppose abortion, like that type of thing.
The thing is, people already, like, a lot of people try to say, like, you can have the baby and just put them up for adoption. Like, people aren't often adopting the children that we have now.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many, like, everyone wants babies. Like, they're, like, I think, what is it? Once you're over
5.
Yeah, over 5, you're much less likely to get adopted. And, like, that's, like...
So I remember they were doing this demonstration where they were very much trying to do like the save yourself for marriage, because Jesus. So they were doing this thing where it was like, it was a chart where it was like, if you and your partner, the idea was that you have sex
and
with
then, like,
every
the
partner,
tree.
with every partner that your partner has had.
Yeah.
So if both partners have had one other sexual partner, then you've actually had sex with 4 people.
Yep.
And then going on where it's like, if each of you have had 7 partners, then you've had sex 4,700, like that type of thing. I'm like, that's really weird. And like at the time, like because I was indoctrinated into that, I was kind of thinking about that. I'm like, I've never really thought about it that way. And then I mentioned it to one of my friends. And I'm like, yeah, this is what they said. And she's like, that's the most bullshit thing I've ever heard. That is dehumanizing. That is degrading. She went off. And I'm like, oh. Because at the time, I was definitely someone who considered myself to be a progressive. But you still have to unlearn all of the things that you've been taught.
I vaguely remember, like, hearing about that. But they put it in the context of, like, STDs,
Mm-hmm.
where like it be tested before you have like unprotected
Mm-hmm.
sex, because like if they had a partner who had it and didn't get tested, and they have it, and then you have it,
Mm-hmm.
it would just kind of like
So,
how it passes along that
I know we
chain,
did something like that my freshman year, where all the freshmen had to like go through a basic sex ed class, and literally,
related to that. Did you have sex ed in high school? Yeah, I didn't think so. I was like,
literally, it was it was like all the male teachers, including the principal, came in and was like, "You know how it works, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, we all know how it works." And he's like, "Good. Let's talk about what the Bible says about it. You need to be
So-
the head of the household, and your wife needs to be beneath you." And
oh, I'd fight.
oh yeah, it was that whole thing. Yeah.
Actually, I probably wouldn't fight in high school
Mm-hmm.
because I had similar like up mindset. I'm like, you deserve more. You're not that. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So that was our sex ed. So when I got actual sex ed, when we got to college, I was literally freaking out. I'm like,
Oh,
like not like literally like nervously laughing afterwards. I'm like, can anyone else believe that just happened? And everyone's looking at me like, what's the big fucking deal? I'm like
I didn't
literally.
know this.
The thing that blew my mind was like he was up there on the stage in the main auditorium, like showing how to put a condom on a banana.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's so, oh no. And then at one point, this is what brought that up, he had 20 people come up on stage
Oh no.
and gave them each a vial, like a little
Okay.
vial thing. And then said, I think it was something to the effect of, y'all gonna have sex on stage. And it's like, what? And then she was saying that the vials represented the fluids that are exchanged during sex. And 3 of them have STDs, which was like a clear chemical that lit up like yellow when you dropped another chemical into it. And said, you don't know which 3 have it. And so what you're going to do is you're going to quote unquote have sex. And what I mean by that is you're going to take your vials, you're going to pour all of it into one vial, pour all of it into the other vial, and then split the difference to represent the exchange of fluids during sex. And then after everyone has had sex 3 times, we're going to see how many of you have STDs. 17 out of 20. It started with 3 who had it, and it ended with 3 who didn't.
Yeah. Like you.
But he definitely he made it comical, but she also like made it really awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Like not in the sense of like not in the sense of like your parents talking to you about it, but like he'd make occasional comments like, "Oh, seems like you have a type." It's just like no. It's like we just met each other 3 days ago. This is during orientation.
Oh.
We didn't actually know each other that well.
I think, and I'm not sure about this. I know we had sex ed at least once or twice in middle school. And I think we had to have it once in 5th grade before going to middle school. And that was like a highly debated thing with parents, but like, like, you at least have to know body parts.
Yeah.
And like, sex ed isn't like, at least for us, it wasn't just like, here's how to safely have sex. It was like, okay, learn the parts here. This is what you do in this type of situation. Like in elementary school, it was like, tell someone if this is happening to you. Like if, like, note the warning signs. Get someone's attention. And then like, yeah, it went up from there. I think in like 8th grade, late middle school, we started. I don't know. At some point, it did evolve into. Here's how to do it safely. Here are your options. blah, blah. I don't
Was
think
it
they ever
LGBT
said.
inclusive?
I don't think so. It wasn't like, yeah, they didn't have anything in there. But again, I graduated in the early 2010s,
Yeah,
so this would have been
because mine did mention like homosexuality as a sin.
well, yeah. No, we didn't really. They didn't really do the whole like safe until marriage thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it also wasn't a Christian school.
Yeah.
But it was like, you are most likely going to do it if you haven't already. Here's how to do it safely,
Mm-hmm.
especially in like high school and high school.
Yeah.
Okay, but story, real quick.
Okay.
So we had for our, it was one of the high school sex ed. We had to do a paper. It was like supposed to be half a page paper on fetal alcohol syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
The one of the people teaching it was pregnant at the time, and the class was not behaving. There was a lot of talking and just like talking to each other, and, like, high school stuff. And she got mad. She was like, "Y'all's paper has to be 2.5 pages."
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Use the internet." I was like, "I don't have internet. I don't have a laptop. What am I supposed to do?" The page. It was one page in the textbook, and half of that page was a picture.
Ooh.
So I had like maybe 2 paragraphs. And then apparently she took it back sometime in between when the class ended and when the next class was there. And so I was like, "I have that paper." And she's like, "Oh, you don't need it." I was like, "Are you kidding me?
Oof.
Are you kidding me? I just found like 30 ways to rephrase this information." But she did end up apologizing. I was like, "I get it. But thank you."
You still have the card to the back already.
I don't know. We might want to think about ending it soon, just because it has been over 2 hours now.
That's fair.
We can continue on this.
We can.
We never did get to Cards Against Humanity.
We didn't.
Next time. When we have more warning for you guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this was very much a last minute thing, but spoiler alert, the video that I'm uploading tomorrow as of now, I'm not actually visible in it similar to the last video we did. It's yeah, so I've had this hair since what, May? Yeah, May. And I realized that I haven't actually made a video showing me
The hair.
since I got my hair done, and now it's been in for 2 months. I'm thinking about taking it out, and so
Possible live stream.
interesting. I'll think about it.
I said it quietly.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like I'm currently thinking about moving in the direction of being on camera less, just because that makes me most comfortable and happiest and whatnot.
But there are still live streams like
Still live
this.
streams, yeah. So yeah.
Oh, more stable. Yeah.
So I wanted to make a live stream because we haven't done it in a while, and this was M's idea. Doing the card game, I actually really had a blast. I didn't expect us to get into so many deep conversations on level 1, but
that's kind of where it goes with you.
True. You too. You started some of these conversations too.
You're right, but I feel like it gets as deep as it does. It's a combination of both of us.
Yeah.
Because we both have different. Anyway, sorry.
No,
this doesn't need to be another deep conversation.
So yeah, we're gonna hop off pretty soon. Do you want to do like one last, like maybe a level 2 question to leave it off with, and then call it a day?
So yes, but I also want This is up to you. It is
Mhm.
your channel. I want you to put a community update thing asking for questions we can ask ask next time.
Sounds good.
Like, obviously, these questions are like, they would be, what's the word? Not filtered, but like,
Vetted.
yeah.
Like, we won't answer any question we get, but we will answer a lot of them.
Yeah.
All right. Shall I pick you?
Oh, come on! You won the last time too, didn't you?
Yeah.
No, I mean like at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. This is a level 2 question, and these are harder. Have we? I mean, we've done this before. I'm not sure. Anyway, what's the most pain you've ever been in that wasn't physical?
That wasn't physical.
I actually have a really long answer for this one.
I think it's probably like we mentioned it before in this live stream, but I have like depression and like a few other things that go on. So occasionally I have like really, really like heightened negative emotions, and it will be like at the point where it's over things that don't quite make sense. Like feelings that I will have that I know are not actually rooted in anything. Um, but like I think it was feeling like completely alone, and like not in a apathetic way, but in a like you had all these people. I don't really know how to explain it because like I typically don't rely on people, like I can handle being alone.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about being, I don't know how to I don't know how to explain it. But it hurt. It hurted. It hurted really bad. Yeah. I actually cried. I sobbed. Yeah. Yeah.
I know, but still.
I got some clips.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so for me, definitely like February or March of 2017. I told this story in one of my videos. I think it's 10 Signs I Was Trans but didn't know it. But as a trans person who does experience dysphoria, I've experienced dysphoria at various points in my life, but I never realized what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so this time, pretty much all of my friends were femfolk,
Mm-hmm.
and because I was perceived as masked, I didn't get invited to any of these femme only trips, which like ate me alive. I didn't understand why I felt that way. I had very much internalized the turf logic of there are these men who want to invade women's spaces and we've got to keep them out. And so I was wrestling with that mentality while also wrestling with the fact that I was like, I don't want to invade anywhere. I just want to be with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would try to distract myself with video games. At the time, specifically Final Fantasy 15, because you could just kind of drive anywhere and go anywhere, and it was kind of freeing when I felt trapped. And so I slept a lot. Like, it got to the point where I know it says the most pain you've ever been in that wasn't physical, and so I'm technically cheating on this one, but this was purely emotional pain that made my body ache. Like, it literally got to the point where I would like take pain meds even though I knew nothing was wrong with my body, just because I was so profoundly upset over the fact that I didn't get to be a part, or at least that's what I thought it was. Because there was one time I'm laying in bed in between bouts of playing video games. And I thought to myself, would I still be upset if my male friends had not invited me on their trip? And my thought was absolutely not. Why would I want to go? Like, I don't fit in with them. And then it gradually started to click where I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not mad because I wasn't invited. I'm hurt because of why I wasn't invited. And that's because I want to be a girl. I refer to myself, what? No, my logic at the time was I want to be a girl. And so literally, I think I actually searched that into YouTube. Like, I want to be a girl. Like, I don't know what to do, but I want to be a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started seeing a lot of things about like trans people naturally, and then it was like, wait a minute, that I don't think I'm trans because I don't feel like I am a girl. I just want to be a girl. And then they're like, by the way, if you just like literally one of them said, by the way, if you're saying this, that's another sign that you're probably trans. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like I just really started doing a lot more research and trying to like what I would do is I would actually set the video game on mute because not a lot happened. I was just playing side quest anyway, and so I'd watch video after video after video after video of trans people sharing their experience, and really just trying to figure out like, is this me? Could this be me? And the more I progressed along this chain of watching videos, the more I'm like, wait a minute, this this whole trans thing is relatable. Like, very much still an egg at the time. So someone who's trans but doesn't realize that they're trans. But like my egg had not cracked. Well, it had cracks. It had cracks in it, but I had not emerged, and so there's one particular video that I watched, and it was actually of a trans teenager. Mind you, I'm in my 20s at this point in time, so it's not like I'm a teenager anymore. But she was talking about how, like, she got to play with her friends on sports teams, and people saw her for who she is, and people, she went through a lot, but things are a lot better now. And as I'm watching this, I'm like, if I had watched this video, like, 5-6 years ago, it would have changed everything. This is what I want. This is what I've always wanted. And then I was like, oh, this is what I've always wanted. And then in hindsight, now I remember like being in like middle school, praying to a God I believed in at the time to transform me. If he could do anything, just wake me up as a girl. Life would be so much better. And so many signs. Like, I've made 2 videos called 10 Signs I Was Trans but didn't know it. Like, I could probably make a third if I really tried hard enough. Like, there were so many moments where it's like, I should have known, but I didn't until that moment. The signs were there. But yeah, I was 20 years old and turning 21 because my birthday's in March. And finally understanding myself was the only thing that made the pain go away. And so when I was at my birthday party, I wished that I could live my life authentically. And I gave myself a time frame that didn't happen, but here we are. A little bit longer, but it worked out. So yeah, that's
a goal.
Yeah. So I'm getting kind of like reflective now, but like this is a big reason why I started this channel and I continue to make content just because I know what it's like to feel that pain of dysphoria and not knowing who you are, and if I can help people navigate that a little bit more smoothly, I'm happy to do so.
Like, I'm really glad that you are as open with these things, and that you do have the type of channel you have, because that actually, like, I was not in a place to question my own gender identity, at least until I moved down here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really cool kind of like getting to understand, like take a look at like I can like put this on the front burner, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like not on the back burner. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
15 minutes later.
Right. All right.
Oh, my
So
lower back.
my lower back hurts so bad.
I love you.
Go ahead.
I love you. You really cute laugh.
Aw.
You're on mic.
I know. I never know how to end live streams. So
I need a ring light.
yeah, we do. So since I never know how to end live streams, I'm going to end this live in the same way that I end my videos, and saying, remember that you're wonderful, and that the world is a better place because you're in it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.
Bye. Also, you're super rad. Have a great day.
Bye.